Tizen.
Tizen is a Linux-based operating system for devices, including smartphones, tablets, in-vehicle infotainment devices, smart TVs, laptops and smart cameras. Its licensing model involves software that uses a variety of open-source licenses that may be incompatible, and a proprietary SDK. It aims to offer a consistent user experience across devices. Tizen is a project within the Linux Foundation and is governed by a technical steering group composed of Samsung and Intel among others. The Tizen Association formed to guide the industry role of Tizen, including requirements gathering, identifying and facilitating service models, and overall industry marketing and education. Members of the Tizen Association represent every major sector of the mobility industry and every region of the world. Current members include telecommunications network operators, OEMs and manufacturers, Fujitsu, Huawei, Intel, KT Corporation, NEC Casio Mobile Communications, NTT Docomo, Orange SA, Panasonic Mobile Communications, Samsung, SK Telecom, Sprint and Vodafone. While the Tizen Association decides what needs to be done in Tizen, the technical steering group determines what code is actually incorporated into the operating system to accomplish those goals. Tizen roots back to the Samsung Linux platform, SLP, and the Limo project, and in 2013 Samsung merged its homegrown Barbara project into Tizen. The first week of October 2013, Samsung's NX300M smart camera became the first consumer product based on Tizen. It was sold in South Korea for a month before its OS was revealed at the Tizen Developer Summit, then became available for pre-order in the US in early 2014 with a release date of March 1. The first Tizen tablet was announced by Sustainer in June 2013, a 10" quad-core ARM with 1920x1200 resolution that was eventually shipped in late October 2013 as part of a development kit exclusive to Japan. The Samsung Gear 2 smartwatch uses Tizen and it was released in April 2014. The Samsung ZEQ 9000 was expected to be the first commercially available smartphone running the operating system, but its planned launch at Mobile World Congress 2014 did not happen.
Overview.
The Tizen Association formed to guide the industry role of Tizen, including gathering requirements, identifying and facilitating service models, and overall industry marketing and education. Tizen provides application development tools based on the JavaScript libraries jQuery and jQuery Mobile. Since version 2.0, a native application framework is also available, based on Open Services Platform from the Barbara platform. The Software Development Kit, SDK, allows developers to use HTML5 and related web technologies to write applications that run on supported devices. The X Windows system with the Enlightenment Foundation libraries are used.
Open environment.
The Core Mobile Web Platform Community Group, CoreMob, brings developers, equipment manufacturers, browser vendors and operators together to agree on core features that developers can depend on. HTML5 applications run on Tizen, Android, Firefox OS, Ubuntu Touch, Windows Phone, and Web OS without a browser. In late January 2013, Tizen 2.0 scored highest at the time an HTML5 test of any browsers. As the old HTML5 tests were phased out on November 13, 2013, Tizen 2.2 fell below BlackBerry 10.2 at 494 out of 555 points. However, currently desktop browsers have regained advantage, and current results for Tizen 2.2 on a Samsung device score highest overall in mobile, with a score of 497 points. Tizen IVI is an operating system from the automotive-grade Linux workgroup. It is PC-compatible. Applications based on Qt, GTK+, and EFL frameworks can run on Tizen IVI. While there is no official support for these third-party frameworks, according to the explanation on the Tizen SDK website, Tizen applications for mobile devices can be developed without relying on an official Tizen IDE as long as the application complies with Tizen packaging rules. In May 2013, a community port of Qt to Tizen focused on delivering native GUI controls and integration of Qt with Tizen OS features for smartphones. Based on the Qt port to Tizen, Tizen and Maya can interchange code.
History.
Tizen came from a long process of Linux adoption by manufacturers. A complete family tree is available. Samsung's collaboration with the EFL project, and especially Carsten Heitzler, was known as Limo for years. It was renamed Tizen when Intel joined the project in September 2011, after leaving the Mago project. A common misconception is that Tizen is a continuation of Mago. In fact, it builds on Samsung Linux Platform, SLP, reference implementation delivered within Limo. On January 1, 2012, the Limo Foundation was renamed Tizen Association. The Tizen Association is led by a board of directors: Samsung, Intel, Huawei, Fujitsu, NEC, Panasonic, KT, Sprint, SK Telecom, Orange, NTT Docomo, Vodafone. The Tizen Association works closely with the Linux Foundation, which supports the Tizen open source project. On April 30, 2012, Tizen released version 1.0, codenamed Larkspur. On May 7, 2012, American wireless carrier Sprint Nextel, now Sprint Corporation, announced it had agreed to become part of the Tizen Association and plans to include Tizen-powered devices in their future lineup. September 16, 2012, the automotive-grade Linux workgroup will work with the Tizen project as the reference distribution optimized for a broad set of automotive applications such as instrumentation cluster and in-vehicle infotainment, IVI. On September 25, 2012, Tizen released version 2.0 Alpha, codenamed Magnolia. It offered an enhanced web-based framework with more features, better HTML5 per Watt 3C API support and more device APIs, multi-process WebKit 2-based web runtime and better security for web applications. Support for OpenGLES has been enhanced. Newly added Platform SDK has been provided to help with platform development based on Open Build Service, OBS. On February 18, 2013, Tizen released version 2.0, codenamed Magnolia. Apart from further enhancements of the web frameworks and APIs, native application framework with integrated development environment and associated tools have been added supporting features such as background applications, IP push, and text-to-speech. Inclusion of this framework is an effect of the expected merging parts of the Open Services Platform, OSP, framework and APIs of the Baga operating system with the Tizen platform. On April 2013, Samsung announces Tizen Portathon. This campaign supports Baga developers' early entry into the Tizen market by providing technical support and incentives. On May 17, 2013, Tizen released version 2.1, codenamed Nectarine. On July 2013, Samsung announces Tizen App Challenge with over $4 million in cash prizes. On July 22, 2013, Tizen released version 2.2. On November 9, 2013, Tizen released version 2.2.1.
Redwood device.
The Redwood Samsung Tizen Z9005, GTI 8800, is a high-end pre-production model sent to developers. It uses the TouchWiz UI and has a similar design to the Samsung Galaxy series.
Market release.
As of February 2013, no announcements had come from either Samsung or Intel about releasing Tizen on actual devices. Unofficial disclosures typically come from Samsung officials at conferences. Allegedly, the first devices were planned for the second half of 2012. Samsung then clarified that first quarter of 2013 is not a date of actual product launch, but of demonstrations at Mobile World Congress. Tizen devices made by Samsung were said to ship in 2013, perhaps in August or September, then replaced to later in 2013, and then perhaps in early 2014. On May 2013, Samsung released the source code of firmwares for their NX2000 and NX300 cameras. The architecture of this source code is based on Tizen. On February 2014, Samsung unveiled the Samsung Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo, running Tizen instead of Android used in the original Samsung Galaxy Gear. In April 2014, the Gear 2 and Gear 2 Neo, using Tizen, were released.
Licensing model.
Presented originally as an open-source operating system, Tizen 2X has a complicated licensing model. The open governance model is not finished, discussions are ongoing with many items not decided fully yet, and all are welcome to participate through input, suggestions, criticism, or participation. The model is intended for Tizen 3.0. The operating system itself consists of many open-source components. A number of components internally developed by Samsung, for example, boot animation, calendar, task manager, music player applications, are, however, released under the Flora license, which is likely incompatible with open-source initiative requirements. Therefore, it is unclear whether developers can legally use the native application framework and its graphical components to make free and open-source software such as GPL applications. Its SDK is built on top of open-source components, but the entire SDK has been published under a non-open-source Samsung license.
Related projects.
BARDA, an operating system for mobile phones, forms the native application framework of Tizen 2.0 and later. Cordova implementation for Tizen is a JavaScript wrapper library allowing to build and run Cordova, PhoneGap-based projects on Tizen. RiverTrail, Intel Labs' RiverTrail project goal is to enable data parallelism in web applications. By leveraging multiple CPU cores and vector instructions, RiverTrail is significantly faster than sequential JavaScript. Sailfish OS, an operating system for mobile phones.